5, 6, 7, 8.
Brett. Yay, we did it.
Yay.
Congratulations, everyone.
Oh my goodness.
Congratulations,
Wow,
everyone.
What a prize.
Excellent work.
We've done it. World's best cup of coffee.
World's best cup of coffee. And that's it, ladies and gents. Have a good one. No, I'm just kidding. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gilmore To Say with Tara and Haley. I'm Tara. This is Haley. Hi, Haley.
Hi, Tara. Why was I surprised by what you said? You said, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. And then you said that and I was like, oh,
we're starting.
Suppose I wasn't.
God. Well, you still said your line, so.
I did. Wow, that's
good for you.
Growth. Good old Gilmore growth.
Happy Galentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day week.
Yes, it's week. It's Galentine's Day week. It's also Valentine's Day week, which is very important to this episode because that's Tara and Brett's anniversary. But it's Galentine's Day, which I feel like is maybe one of the biggest holidays on this pod because of like the origins that we didn't know we were originating back in our Galentine's Day, a Gilmore Galentine back in 2022.
Back in the early days of this show, we had no idea what we were setting ourselves up for. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was very early on.
A Gilmore Galentine in person, and then we had it separately last year, and we're going to be separate again this Thursday, the 13th, of course, on Galentine's Day for our gals and our pals. And I'm just so excited. I feel like we've mentioned this before, but we're both going to be in our beds because it's going to be a true slumber party.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited. I haven't decorated yet. We're recording this a little in advance, but I'm excited to deck my my bedroom
Deck
out,
the halls, if you will.
office space, whatever this is, our second bedroom out, and set it up for a nice slumby with my gals and my pals, my besties.
We, of course, will be wearing matching pajamas a la, I guess it was 2023. We're going to be wearing print fresh pajamas. We got the Parisian poodles, and they are so cute because they remind me of the like I Love Lucy breakfast pajamas, little cute ones with the cakes on it that the girlies wear.
Can I tell you, I went on a deep dive the other day looking for those I Love Lucy pajamas, like those exact ones.
Really?
And I found them on eBay. They are on a bunch of websites. And of course, there are pictures of Lorelai wearing them. So like, obviously people know that if people are looking for them, they're probably looking because Lorelai wore them. They come in pink and they come in blue. But they are by a company called Nick and Nora.
Really? That's so funny.
Isn't that so cool. I was like, oh my God.
Love that.
Yeah. So I went looking for them, and they are rather expensive to buy, secondhand, because of course at this point they're kind of like vintage. And
wow,
I know, but they're at least 25 years old because that episode aired in 2000. So I think they're probably very expensive, and if they are in really good condition, they're probably even more expensive. Oh
my gosh, you're so right. That's so true. But if you want like an updated version, Print Fresh has lots of cutie prints for Valentine's Day and beyond.
Yeah.
But I just love wearing matching pajamas. I love wearing pajama sets, but like, I don't know if like when you were younger, I guess you didn't have a sister that like was around your age. I hated matching her, but now it's like my favorite thing in the world to match.
Yeah, totally.
So getting to do that with you, almost my sister.
Yeah.
Sister-like.
Yeah. Besties.
And matching with all our besties. But we're just going to have such a fun girly pop time.
I know. I'm really, really
Gilmore
excited.
Girly pop time.
So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you definitely should, because the cost of tickets will go up on the day of. The ticket price will
on Thursday.
Go up on Thursday. So if you haven't gotten your tickets and you plan on coming, go to www.moment.co/Gilmore To Say and get your tickets now. We're really excited.
Yeah. We're going to play some fun games. There's a game that we've been wanting to play with all of you, and we felt like this was the moment to play it.
I am so excited about that game because
it might be called Slick or Ick.
It may or may not be called Slick or Ick.
But and you're just going to have to find out more at the event. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon member, you come to the after party for free.
You get in for free. So again, like I said a couple weeks ago, what's better than free? Not much. Not much is better than something free.
Not much.
It's true. But speaking of Galentines and Valentines, my Valentine, who I started
Your
dating.
Valentine is on.
My Valentine is on the podcast this week, who I started dating around the same time that we started this podcast. So it's really exciting to have my partner Brett on today. If you've been listening since the beginning, or even if you've binged our entire show and have listened to Haley and I become friends, you've also listened to my relationship with Brett develop. You probably, remember.
More on Patreon.
Yeah, for sure. Patreon members definitely get a deeper dive and a deeper look.
Which is funny because Brett's mom is a Patreon member.
I know. I love it. But yeah, my relationship with Brett has definitely expanded and grown over the last 3 years as well. So it's funny. I kind of want to go back and listen to the first time I mentioned him. Like, yeah, my boyfriend, this guy I'm dating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember
I would love to hear that.
Talked about him.
Oh my gosh. If any of y'all remember the first name drop of Brett, do let us know.
Let us know. Give us the timestamp. Give us the episode because, and now obviously I talk about him regularly because he's such an integral part of my life. We live together and it's just so crazy to think that we've been celebrating over the last couple of weeks the anniversary of our podcast hitting 3 years. And then, this weekend, actually, Brett and I are going to celebrate our 3-year anniversary because our anniversary is on Valentine's Day. We've been toying around with changing the date just because we're like, Valentine's Day. But I kind of think we just should keep it.
It's cute. I think it's earnest and sweet and I love it.
Thanks.
So we're recording this intro, of course, but last night, me and Tara and Brett all hung out and talked about Gilmore Girls. And I just want to know how you felt about listening to all of these things that our besties are about to hear him talk about.
It was just a silly goose time. I love him so much. He's such a silly goose. And I love having conversations with him about these things because I also like challenging him a little bit. And you'll probably hear me challenge him. Yeah. You'll hear me challenge him and disagree with him. And that's something that I love about our relationship is that we have that very honest relationship with each other where we love to kind of get into the nitty gritty. And that's what the show is all about. That's why you and I started this podcast is because we wanted to get in deep. Now I can't go as deep as I do with you because he doesn't know the show as well.
No, but you also talk about in the conversation that we have with him about how the show has prompted conversations in your relationship, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
But I will say when we get to the end, Brett does make me cry.
Yeah.
He did make me cry.
He is an angel. I just love him so much.
In a good way.
Yeah,
he didn't hurt my feelings.
He didn't hurt Haley's feelings
in a way that I was like, how is this, why is this happening to me live?
But in the best way.
Why did you have to say such nice, beautiful things?
I know.
Yeah.
I love him so much. And I'm very excited for you guys to hear
it was good.
All of his opinions, his thoughts. We've been watching the show. We started watching it 3 years ago together. And so it's been a slow burn. It's taken him a while to really get through the show. He mentions when we have the conversation, he's not a binger. He doesn't like to plow through shows. So that makes it kind of tough for me as someone who literally will just eat a show up.
It was interesting, his thought process behind that of growing up in the era of appointment television, of having to wait every week for it. And I was like,
yeah, we all grew up
that way. You
liked
that?
I know.
You wanted that? I mean, not everyone. I feel like our younger listeners are really Netflix is really where they came into their TV shows and just the binge.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm just in protest of that, but it's if a TV show can't hook me in the first 5 minutes, I'm done. But if it does, I'm watching all of it right now this minute, all 12 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially once we were able to get our favorite shows on DVDs, then that also kind of prompted this idea of we can watch it whenever we want to and we can keep going if we want to. We don't have to wait. For me, I would watch Gilmore Girls every day at 5 o'clock on ABC Family. So I was only waiting a day between episodes.
And sometimes it was just a moment because they would play 2.
That's true. Usually on ABC Family, they'd play 1. I feel like it was 5 to 6 and then they would play another show at 6. I think. That's what I remember, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. But then, once I got the DVDs, you remember, portable DVD player. I was watching it whenever I wanted. I'd switch the discs like clockwork. So,
yes.
I
just plus rewind and restart.
And just restart and watch it all over again. But I think that Brett, just in general, he consumes media differently than you or I do. And also,
it's really savor something.
He does. And so we are at the end. We just watched the end of season 5 and he got to see the proposal. He got to see Rory dropping out of Yale. So before we took a dive into season 6,
very excited about.
He was because he predicted it, and he has some more predictions to offer us.
His
for the rest of the series.
I was trying so hard not to laugh.
Oh my God, it was so funny. I don't know if you saw my face.
That moment when he was like, maybe Rory gets pregnant. Nah.
My eyes. If you watch me, if y'all are watching us on YouTube, when he says maybe Rory gets pregnant, my eyes get really wide at you because I knew he wasn't looking at me. And he was looking away at one point and I was like, just giving you the eyeballs.
And I was like, wait, let's go back to Emily and Richard.
I can't wait to like play these back for him when he does come back on to talk about, the second part of his analysis of the show.
We'll have to have him watching it and have it like playing in the corner just to see what he thought about the idea of like Luke leaving and like I don't want to spoil it.
I was going to say, let's not spoil it. Yeah.
He has so many that are just chef's kiss.
Yeah, he has a lot of predictions that are very interesting, but I'll save that for you guys to listen to.
You'll have to find out.
You'll have to find out. So, without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Brett Thiel. Brett Thiel, welcome to Gilmore To Say.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's finally
here we are.
Brett decided that his catchphrase was going to be, uh-oh. And I was like, why?
Oh, did we need one?
Don't
3
know.
years in and I don't have one.
During our test, he just kept going, uh-oh, as his bass frame for like how loud he would become.
Yeah, that's as loud as I get for the whole episode.
Okay.
This is going to be kind of my neutral.
I love that. I love this hard launch that we're doing today.
Yeah. Hello, welcome to our beige paradise.
It's very beige here.
It is beige land.
Ultimate
It is.
beige flag? Beige flag as a couple?
Oh, I don't want to put us there.
I thought beige flags were like just kind of like regular.
Beige flag is like on its way to a red flag. But it's like halfway between a green
it's just
flag
like kind of
and
neutral
a...
things.
Yeah.
We had an episode. There was a beige flag episode.
That's true. You're so right.
Beige flag is just kind of like, oh, he likes oatmeal raisin.
No, we're green
I
flag.
love oatmeal raisin.
Yeah.
All right, but yes, it's very beige here in the Theo Llewellyn household.
Cut.
Is this how we want to start this? Anyway, welcome to Gilmore To Say. It's really special for me to have you on here because my friendship with Haley and the podcast Gilmore To Say is very synonymous, like runs parallel to our relationship and the duration of our relationship because we're about to celebrate 3 years of being together. We just celebrated 3 years on the podcast. It was like right after we launched the podcast, you and I started dating. So I feel like this journey is very full circle. It's very, very cool to have you here.
We made the hat trick.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. And I'm just so excited.
I feel like our relationship in many ways has played out like some sort of WB drama. So
Oh, perfect.
Oh my gosh, I love.
Great.
Our first season was very like, will they, won't they?
Yeah, it was a little bit like, are we gonna make it? What is this?
What is this?
the
What are we?
plot? Yeah.
Plot
and
twist, they did make it.
They did, and here we are
And
in
then
our
we-
home.
Yeah.
In our home.
And you're home together. You know, I was thinking that this was like a hard launch for your relationship, but I think the true hard launch is that your mom is an avid listener on our Patreon and commenter. And so like anytime she comments, I'm like, that's the real hard launch is that Brett's mom.
The thing about Nancy is she's a down bitch.
She's a real one, man.
She's
the goat.
When Nancy throws herself behind somebody, she will show up guns up. You could text Nancy at any point and be like, "We need you, no questions asked. Bring some bags and a rope."
Yeah.
And she'll say what
She'll
say
like,
what time.
Yeah. What size shovel should I bring?
Yeah.
Well, recently in an episode, we were like, I wonder what Nancy thinks. And then like the next day, full paragraph length. I was like, who wrote this much? And I was like, Nancy.
Yeah.
Nancy did.
And we
'Cause had
can't
a
tell
call
you
for
what
her.
it's about because you have not reached that
Oh my
point.
gosh, you're so right. I was about to say what it was about.
Whoa.
Well, we can't because Brett has not reached
I've
that
made
point
it
in the
so
series.
far. I need you to understand how far I've truly made it without any like devastating spoilers.
Well, you
is
had
wild.
one spoiler,
I
right?
had one devastating spoiler.
Which one? Was it finding out that Rory went to Yale?
It was finding out that Rory, did
Chose
not
Yale.
get into Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she gets into Harvard.
Or that she, yes, that she
chooses
she
Yale.
chose
yeah.
Yale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we should clarify that you have seen up until the end of 5. Is that correct? Have you gotten into 6 at all?
We have not gotten into 6 at all. There was a
He
hard
wanted to
stop.
start watching 6, and I was like, I would really love to have you come on and share your opinions in some capacity on the podcast. I didn't know if that was going to be in the form of like content on our socials or like a bonus episode, but we decided to do it for Galentine's Day today. It's not Galentine's Day, of course, until Thursday, which
But it's Galentine's Valentine's week, which is your anniversary. Like
Yes,
the
it's
cheesiest
also
thing to ever happen.
anniversary, which is so funny. So
Lovers.
it just felt kind of perfect. We needed an episode for this week, one that wasn't super like Galentine centered because we have our event on Thursday. So this was just perfect. And I was like, I think we can hold out on starting season 6. We're actually finishing season 6 right now on our Patreon rewatch. So like I just rewatched the whole thing and I'm really intrigued to get into it with you. But that's what your mom commented on, was an episode towards the end of season 6. So I was like, we can't talk about it.
Well, Nance, I really hope that I see you. I hope we see eye to eye on season 6 and your thoughts and feelings.
I think you might.
Yeah.
I think you will. Yeah. I will say the last episode of season 6 is my favorite episode of the series.
And we're about to cover it live next week. Well, we're recording it next week.
Okay, am I crazy? Is 6 the one when Amy has left, or is 7 the one when Amy has left?
The finale of season 6 is Amy's last episode.
Copy. Okay.
So that's, I think it also contributes to why it is one of Haley's favorites, is because it was such an homage to all the work she did before she comes back for the revival, which you already know about.
Yes.
But yeah, 7 is the one where it really goes off
Which
the rails.
I have some thoughts on the revival.
You've not seen it?
No, I've not seen it. I just mean like, I've got some ideas.
Oh, you have pre-thoughts.
Yeah, I have pre-thoughts.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We're going to get into your predictions.
I've had some pretty accurate premonitions on the show so far.
Yes.
I will say this.
I know we have a lot to get into. We have a lot of questions for you. I also want to note that I was thinking about before we got on that this is like our first full length conversation, Brett.
I know.
And I was like, this is so fun. Like I was thinking would be one day over, you know, a nice appetizer, some mocktails, but instead we're going to talk about Gilmore Girls, and I love that for us.
It feels right for us.
Yeah.
It really does.
So I'd love to start with kind of the lore of how you started watching Gilmore Girls. Do you remember when you started watching episode 1?
When I started watching episode 1 was with you.
No.
Is that a lie?
That's a lie.
Tell me
number 1.
Tell me my past.
Are we counting lies?
We're counting uh-ohs, we're counting lies.
Yeah.
Tell me lies.
This is also important for everybody to know is Tara is my brain. My memory is that there's like goldfish, and then there's like a couple rungs down, and then there's me. There's like
you remember stuff.
I remember any sort of like pop culture from the 90s.
Well, you're perfect
2000s.
for this show.
Yeah.
You missed it a little bit. It's
Yeah.
the 2000s.
If it was on Nickelodeon, then
he remembers. No, he's very smart. You have a great brain. It's just when it comes to remembering things, you've got to
can't put yourself down on this podcast.
When it comes to remembering things, I feel like I do kind of carry.
You fill in the gaps.
I fill in the gaps. Brett watched the first episode of Gilmore Girls.
Oh, at work
at the Stephen Colbert Show.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I remember that.
Yeah,
I was told that story.
Yes, because I knew that Tara liked the show. Went into my office because Emily was watching it, and I saw the show was on, and I texted you and I said, "Gilmans,
yeah,
it's happening."
Yeah, you're like, I'm watching the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls, and then he gave me kind of the play-by-play of how he felt about it. Who's your favorite character?
Patricia LaCosta. Forever and always,
Patty.
amen.
Oh,
Patricia LaCosta. She introduces, we were rewatching some of the early episodes, the early season 1 episodes. And when she introduces herself to Richard and Emily, she says, Patricia LaCosta, we just love your daughter and granddaughter.
Yeah.
And he was like, Patricia LaCosta.
What a wonderful phrase.
Oh my gosh. Well, what was that like? Because knowing that Gilmore Girls is so important to Tara, and I mean like not just in the sense that like it's her job, not just her favorite TV show that she likes to watch, like this is like so important to who Tara was growing up. Did you have that context going into it, and did it like feel like a lot of pressure going into it with her?
You come into it, I came into it with almost a hesitancy, like 100 to keep it a buck, as the kids say, like did not expect to enjoy the show. It was very much a situation that was like, yeah, I'll watch that. You know, it's like how every I feel like it's how like every boyfriend ends up watching The Bachelor. That they're like, I'm not watching The Bachelor, and then they're like in
5
the kitchen
episodes
while
later,
it's on, yeah, and then like, yeah, exactly.
They're standing
They're
by the
yelling at the
doorway. They're like,
TV.
oh, I
They're
hate
like,
that
Pino,
guy.
get Pino out of here.
Yeah.
I don't think he's here for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I went into it because I knew how important it was to Tara. And I always love, you know, I love having opinions about things.
There's one thing I know about Brett Thiel. It's that he always has an opinion.
Hence my mother with her paragraphs. Shout out Nancy.
Shout out Nancy. Yes.
And so coming into it, I wanted to be very careful with it because I knew what it meant to you. I was never going to, I even if I like really hated it, like if I genuinely hated it, I would be like, meh, this is not for me. But
and I would have respected that.
Yeah.
I don't think
But you
it would
never
have
would
been
have like put it down.
correct.
No,
That's not.
I don't think so.
I'm not one to
Yuck someone's
yuck
yum.
someone's
to
yum.
yuck someone's yum
Yeah.
or poop in their Cheerios.
I always say shit in your Cheerios.
I don't like that at all. But knowing that you were hesitant going into it, did you have like an anticipated like, I'm going to watch a couple episodes and then I'm not going to get any more into this because I don't want to get too deep into this?
Here's the thing about me is that I don't do anything 50%. So I was like, I will watch all of this.
If it takes me 6 years.
Yeah. Like I will finish this show. And because a lot of times, especially with television shows, is that like the first season is almost always a nightmare. You know, even like Seinfeld, which is like one of my favorite shows. Like the first season is like good right away, but it really doesn't hit its stride until like season 3, season 4. So I think that this is true of any long running series, is that like you need to get to know who these people are. You need to get to know the point of view. And I mean, like from watching the first 5 seasons, like I don't really know that the show for me finds its like real point of view until season 2 or 3.
Of Gilmore Girls?
Yes.
Yeah, season 2,
we
I
agree.
think we completely agree. Season 1 was tough for us to get through on Patreon. I think that when you and I watched the show, it was a little bit difficult to invest in. Yeah, we were watching it. You know, I took Brett through like a Gilmore Girls boot camp leading up to this because he started watching the show about 3 years ago.
I imagine y'all with those like black marks under your eyes,
Yeah.
like army fatigues.
Exactly. For some reason, there are like 3 giant tires in the corner of our living room. Don't know why, but Brett's got to roll them across the living room as he watches
tough.
Gilmore Girls.
Getting the monkey bars in was the hardest part.
Exactly. But it was really jarring to go back to season 1 and to see how different the show is, especially as you and I are watching season 6 and we just watched the end of season 5.
Right.
Tonally, the show is so different. The sound is different. The filter over everything is different. Everybody looks different. The lighting. It's so, it was so crazy.
Well, it's almost like the show. It's like everybody is just a little bit. We talked about. We pointed out specifically Emily. And how in that first season when we see her, it's like
She's a lot more subdued.
She's a lot more subdued, a lot more quiet.
And she really, I think that everything starts to come together tonally, character-wise, aesthetically in season 2. To see the shift from the end of season 1 to the beginning, like the first episode of season 2 was crazy. So I think that really made a difference.
There's also things, there's something about that is also really joyful.
Yeah, totally.
That
it's like charming almost.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch the first. Like I almost feel like you with most shows. If I make it to the end, if and when I make it to the end, you go back and watch the first season again. Like
and you're like, oh, my pals when they were figuring themselves out.
Yeah. And so it's exactly, the show is very much trying to figure itself out. There's so many like little technical issues. I used to be like a bit of a nerd for like film and television in high school and in college. And so just watching shots get put together on the show, watching like booms come into the shot.
Well, that's also like the time frame of it, of like the aspect ratio of like, it was not forgiving when we went to Netflix.
Yeah.
Watch it. Like I love the B-roll picture of Lorelai's house.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the static image of Chilton.
and now we're here. Like it was practically like they were just holding up a card in front of the camera.
Yeah. You can see someone's fingers around the edges.
Yeah, exactly. But like, there's something really charming about that because there's so much pressure on shows now to like nail it from the very beginning because there's so much available.
Oh yeah. You really have to stand out.
You just like, you have to from episode 1, second one, just be like, great, this is the best show of the decade.
Well, it's really got to grab you. And that's why like binge watching culture and streaming culture has really taken the forefront. If a show is not enticing enough to make you want to binge it right then and there, a lot of times I feel like it does fall flat. But with this show, you're not binging it.
I don't like binging.
You're not a binger.
I am not a binger.
That's why it's taken him so long to.
Because
it's taken you quite a while.
Maybe because no
judgment.
No, it's fine. But it's like maybe because of how I grew up consuming television was like you had to wait a week.
Yeah,
you get an episode, you have to wait until next week and talk about it with your friends and go, oh God, I don't know what's gonna happen. And then the next week would come along and you hope that you like timed it right because also like TiVo didn't really exist.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
hope you didn't have practice when it was on.
Right. So I really enjoy kind of taking like chunks of a show at a time.
We'll watch a few episodes at a time and then, wait a day or two, watch another few episodes,
Because otherwise I just feel like you zone out. I just feel like with my memory issues.
Sure.
with my brain being what it is, like I just feel like if I watched 30 episodes of a show in a week, then I would not be able to tell you anything that happened on that show. And I wouldn't, it's like speed dating. It's almost like I'm not actually getting to know the show. I'm just sort of
you want to invest in a long-term relationship.
Indeed.
With these characters.
Exactly. I want to give them
I'm
the
like
time
the exact
that they
opposite.
deserve.
I am too. I'm just like,
if I can't get hooked within the first 5 seconds of this show, I'm not giving it a chance. Like The Night Agent, I sat and watched every single one of those episodes. And that's like the only TV show that I've watched in the last like 2 years.
Well, and see, like this is like a reason for me that like Lost is so devastating to me because you invested so much time in Lost and then it was just like
and then you lost
and then they just lied to you the whole time and then by the time the last season comes along you're just like battered and you're like whatever. Lost.
What if at the end of this you find out that it all takes place in a snow globe and that Rory was just in a coma? None of this happened.
I can't be hurt anymore.
That's true after Lost.
There's nothing you can do to me anymore.
Well, that brings up a very interesting topic. What else, like what would you define as your genre when it comes to television?
Oeuvre.
What?
Oeuvre. My oeuvre.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's how you spell it. It's a spelling bee now. I really love long series. I think that like if I was, what do you want? Like a list of my favorite shows?
Just
sure,
like,
you said you were hesitant to go into this because you didn't think you were going to like it. What shows have you enjoyed over the last however old you are?
I mean, Game of Thrones is incredible.
Oh, yeah. Tara, you got to watch Game of Thrones.
I know.
It's a pretty wide spectrum because like I love to invest myself into a story. I love Game of Thrones, but I also like the Golden Girls. Like,
oh, big Golden Girls fan.
Like,
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Golden Girls. I think that like in terms of comedic writing, there's not many shows that have done it better. I love Seinfeld. I really liked Breaking Bad until I really didn't.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad was hard.
I broke off.
But I think it was perfect. I think it was supposed to be. It's one of those.
I don't think I was supposed to be happy at any point while I was watching.
I think like Vince Gilligan is a genius. And put that show together in a way that you're like, oh yeah, and I'm not supposed to like this person by the end. I love comedy. I love 30 Rock. I think that I like the Newsroom. I think is like brilliant. It's like for the example of one of those shows that in the first 10 minutes of the show, I think that's some of the best writing I've seen in any medium period is in the pilot episode of the Newsroom.
Is that Aaron Sorkin?
It is Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. So it has that like very quick wit.
Yeah.
Very like bantery type.
Yeah. And Jeff Daniels is just
Daniels is very good. We watched
Yeah,
the first
I
few
love Jeff
episodes, and I know that the show only has a handful of seasons. 2,
yeah,
3.
I guess so. To answer your question in a more succinct way, is that I don't necessarily navigate or gravitate towards a specific genre as much as I do like interesting characters.
Yeah. Well, I think that is like a misconstrued notion about Gilmore Girls. Like I asked a guy the other day, especially with men, not to stereotype or generalize, but I do think that with men, I do
There's
think
girl
sometimes
in the title. It scares them.
it scares them when I'm like, hey, have you ever seen Gilmore Girls? They're like, no.
Yeah,
and I'm
well,
like,
yes, in a society where it's like female pencils, they're pink. And men can't have them,
Well, that was like in my brother's, one of his interviews for his residency. Like they were talking about cool facts. And he was like, oh, my sister has a Gilmore Girls podcast the night before at like the little social. So in his interview, they were like, oh, what do you know about Gilmore Girls? And he said, I don't watch that shit. And I said, why would you disparage me like that in front of all of these professionals?
Yeah. I'll also say that I have grown up with the sort of like the really like my Mount Rushmore of my life has been like really strong, smart, independent women.
Totally.
Like Nancy.
Yeah,
Nancy.
well, exactly. My parents separated when I was too young to even know what it meant that they were together. And my dad was very present in my life and is incredible. I'm very lucky to have a very supportive and loving family. But I want to say the brunt of my time was spent with my mom and my sister, who are both incredibly smart and independent, badass ladies. My mom worked in banking in the 90s.
Yeah.
So like made her way up through the corporate ladder. My stepmother owned her own company, ran her own business that she built from the ground up. Most of my teachers that I was close to growing up were women. I've always been prompted to and always felt very proud to like embrace sort of my feminine energy.
Mm-hmm. So Gilmore Girls didn't scare you.
So Gilmore Girls like didn't.
Yeah, the girl.
Yeah, like
didn't.
it's not
The girl in Gilmore Girls did not scare
you like girls.
I use lilac deodorant.
Oh,
Okay.
He does.
Well, we're over the screen, so I can't tell, but
Yeah.
I love that for you.
I put some on for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Something that I think gets misconstrued with this show from like the male perspective is that like Gilmore Girls is just kind of this like girly little boopty show.
Yeah,
and it's actually rich with characters that are very, very layered and rich. Yeah. And I think that kind of falls in line. I think the reason that you enjoy the show so much is because if that's the kind of genre you lean into, like really deeply layered characters that are flawed and come to the table with their, with their flaws. I think that that's probably a major reason why you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that, it's weird to me that like something being created by women with women at the forefront is a reason to close a door on something for anybody.
I know. I agree.
To your point,
Love that.
it's just these are good characters and people are writing stories about other people, and it's chick you to put the label of like chick flick television on it
totally
is not it doesn't make sense to me that that's a deterrent for people.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, on the topic of preconceived notions, what preconceived notions did you have about Gilmore Girls before you started watching the show?
Yeah, what did you think it was about?
Chick flick.
Just women doing women things.
Just ladies doing lady stuff. I didn't think I would get it. What did I think? I thought it was going to be I kind of thought that it was going to be what it is about. Like I thought it was going to be about like my boyfriend and like, oh, he broke my heart and like, oh, but my mom needs love too. And
That's exactly what the show was
and
about.
It is about that. Like I definitely want to say that I definitely had an idea that it was going to be sort of like a soap.
Well, it toes the line of soap opera and sitcom.
Yeah.
Really, really well.
Dramedy.
Yeah. I didn't expect to have to think hard watching the show.
Yeah.
And I think
have you found that you do have to think hard?
I always think hard. This is my curse. I think that you can think hard about any show, and you can,
which has proven that Tara and I think too hard about this show.
No, but like that's sort of what's great about it, is that it is there is a general spirit to it, but it also has specific humanity to it, that allows you to focus on. You can relate to many people inside of this world.
Yeah.
I think that on my journey with some of these characters that have gone up and down, that I've especially my relationship with Lorelai has been one that's been really interesting. That when I first started the show, I was just sort of like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you weren't really a big Lorelai fan.
I didn't really give her a chance at first. I want to say that I was like overly critical about her.
Are you someone who's not drawn to main characters in stories in general? Are you more of a side character?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love, I've always loved a B character. Like in Singin' in the Rain, I always loved Make 'em Laugh. I always loved Cosmo more than I loved Gene Kelly.
Though you are a huge Gene Kelly fan.
Love him. But like, I think that is a fair statement, that I really like when someone is able to. Foils are so important, and sidekicks are so important. Like Watson is the thing that makes Sherlock Holmes interesting. You can't have Chip without Dale.
Yeah, it's true.
I would say they split the title though.
No, but really watch it, honestly.
Well, that's the thing, is like you split the title with Gilmore Girls, of like the Gilmore Girls are the main characters, but we always think Lorelai's the main character. And I find myself being more critical of main characters in general. Like I have a lot more forgiveness for people who come in and out of the plot than someone whose life we're constantly watching.
Yeah, you also get a lot more information with them. You get so much context around them that it's like the same thing that makes a great hero is the same thing that makes a great villain, right? Like the more that you know about them and the more they're human, the more that you can see like why with I don't know, would you consider Lorelai an anti-hero?
Ooh.
It's her. She's the problem. It's her.
It's her.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think she'd be an anti-hero, just because like I feel like that's such a, and I know that you're not very well versed in the Gilmore TikTok, Gilmore Reels world, but like nothing will go viral quite like being like a statement that's like maturing as realizing that the Gilmore Girls are the villains of their own story. Sure. And it's like that's a oversimplification of like being a person,
being a main character.
It's giving clickbait.
Yeah. And I do think that, we've talked about this before, that Amy Sherman Palladino loves her characters to be flawed. And so if being flawed is going to make you the villain in your own story, then like we're all the villain in our own story.
I'm totally the villain.
You know what I mean?
Story.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a little, like you said,
if anyone's going to take me down, it's going to be me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm the only one that I would want to take me down.
I'm the most evenly matched.
But talking about like you have tons of opinions on things, you were up and down with Lorelai, I want to back up just a little bit, and I want to know what you love about the show, because I know you have 1,001 opinions about your ups and downs with it, but like what are things that like bring you back to it, that like has kept you on this journey, that you just love? Storylines, characters, anything?
Well, it's important to its importance to my partner is important to me. That good. Like love being able to relate.
Check plus.
And like, I think that it's a show about relationships in many ways, and like it has opened conversations with us about like, I think that because I love good characters, I think that the characters, the more that you hang out with them, the more that I sort of ebb and flow with like who I'm vibing with, who I'm really relating to, and who I'm sort of like, okay, I need you to go take a walk and figure yourself out. I don't necessarily think that anyone on this show is someone that I'm like, that's me, I see it. But I think that I really, what keeps taking me back to it, what makes me enjoy it more and more is Amy's writing of people. The thing that like Seinfeld says that is like, it's a show about nothing. Where it's just sort of like dudes being guys and people existing in a city. Like this is also very similar to that. Obviously it's a little more dramatic. Like there's a little more drama
but
involved.
It's a slice of life show. Like the stakes are low. The high stakes in this show we've talked about a lot on this podcast.
We actually talked about Sheila Lawrence.
With one of the writers. Like we talked about how like one of the plot lines is Rory loses her bracelet.
Right.
And it's like, that's the big drama.
Yeah.
Is that Rory loses her bracelet and Lorelai thinks that Jess stole it.
Yeah.
And it's high drama.
And it is high drama.
It is, yeah.
So that's the thing is like that, I think is why this has become so many people's comfort show is because this, even when the stakes are high, they're really not that high. And there's something really comforting about that, especially in the world that we exist in right now.
And maybe that's one of the points maybe that's one of the points that we've been trying to get to is that like it can meet you where you're at in terms of what you need from it. So it's like if I just need a good juicy show, like that episode can meet you right at like, oh, and he didn't steal it, but he did.
Did he returned it because he realized because he's nice.
Or it can just be like, because he's nice. He's a nice man, boy.
Yeah.
And then like some of my favorite episodes are Townie episodes. Like there's been a couple episodes.
So is Tara's.
That Tara has been like, oh, we can skip this on the way. And I'm like, no. I need to see all of it. And some of those episodes have been like
Richard and Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
He wanted to skip that one.
Yeah. And I loved that episode.
He loved that episode. And I felt so bad. And I think it was because I was like, oh, I want him to get to like the juicier episodes because we were coming off of season 1 where arguably I didn't feel like you were as hooked as I wanted you to be when we first started watching the show. I was like, oh, I don't know if he's liking this, but I want him to like appreciate the show when it starts to hit its stride, like in season 2. And so I was just kind of like rushing a little bit to get to There's the Rub.
Yeah.
And when we watched Richard and Stars Hollow, he looked at me and he was like, you were going to make me skip that? And I was like, sorry.
It's also so hard to share something that's so important to you.
Yes, there's
like,
an anxiety
we talk about this a lot.
Yeah. It's anytime that you've ever found something on social media that you're like, guys, I was cackling in bed last night, watch the video. And like you put it on and people are like, and you're like, but just wait. And you're like scrubbing through it to be like, but the good part is coming. Wait, please.
Yeah.
And the good part never comes.
And the good part never comes. And then you dream about it for 3 years.
No, but it's because it's so special to her. It's like that thing of like, she's just like watching you out of the side of her eye of like, is he enjoying it? What is he thinking? I don't want to ask him because this is the part that I like, but I want to make sure he's enjoying it to the optimum capacity of what he could.
Yeah.
So
and I have enjoyed
it's hard.
enjoyed it. And I am such a I guess my like gift back is trying to like really take it in and and watch it for what it is and watch it how I would watch any other series.
Yeah. Totally.
Which for me takes a while.
How do you feel about the Bracebridge dinner?
It's a trick question.
Is there a correct answer to this?
No, I just am curious.
I love it.
I'm just curious how you feel about the episode.
Great Townie episode.
Great Townie episode. Haley's not a big fan of that episode.
Not a big fan.
And that's very controversial on our show because a lot of people love that episode. I do. It's one of my favorite epineverts.
But
as
recently,
an episode,
I had some growth recently, and I appreciated it.
Please share your growth.
Well, I've never thought much of that episode. I've never really liked watching it. Every time I've watched it, I've just kind of at the end of it been like, but this is like in the lore of the show, very popular, especially if you're a big Jess fan. I've just never really been into it, but structurally where it fits into the, like that season, it's a pretty good episode.
Yeah. I think that, it's a show that's full of moments. Like that episode, not every there's plenty of episodes that aren't great like episodes, but there's so many episodes that have great.
If you're not on YouTube, he just arced his arm like a rainbow.
Episodes. Imagination.
That's literally what I thought of.
There's so many great little pockets of things where like they'll give you a little treat every now and then, but overall in terms of like, did this serve the purpose of moving the plot forward in the show? No, but
I think so. Yeah. I disagree with you. I think, I think that part of like why we were talking about it recently is because we were ranking the winter finales of each season. Because, back in the 2000s, it was customary that you would have a show take you to like December 5th and then like it would break do the winter hiatus. And so we were ranking the winter finales and how they leave us and like what they set up for the second half of the season. And I think that the Bracebridge dinner is setting us up for a lot. It's setting up Richard and Emily and Richard retiring. It's setting up Dean, Rory, and Jess. That love triangle did not exist until those glances.
That glance is solidified.
It's a great towny episode. Paris and Rory's friendship is starting to kind of forge some sort of something. Jess and Luke and their relationship is also starting to take shape. And so I disagree. I think that it's really setting us up for a great second half of season 2, personally.
Well, it's 2 against 1.
Wait, who's the second one?
I was going to say,
am I on?
I think Brett thinks you're on his side, but I actually think you're on my side.
I'm on her side. I'm not a fan of the episode personally. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm gonna go for the ones where they're yelling in the streets.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Tara.
Haley really loves the drama, and I love more of like the cozy, fun stuff. I love the drama as well, but that is kind of.
I'm here for the drama.
All right.
Yeah.
Come on,
I'm
drama.
here for the drama. I like the drama.
Do you remember like a big dramatic moment that like really sticks out to you that you were like, yes, this is it?
It's Rory coming back to Dean's house. It's Dean and Rory part 2. And I remember I laid face down on the rug.
It's Dean and Rory part 3. It's,
so this is the beginning of season 5. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you know how Dean and Rory break up in Star-Crossed Lovers and Other Strangers with the car?
Yes.
Because she doesn't say I love you back. And then they get back together. It was like, I love you, you idiot. Yeah. And then, so that's like Dean and Rory 2.0. I love you, idiot. And then at the beginning of season 5, they after sleeping together, they get together.
My Dean.
Don't get us started. Yes. When that happened, he was like, are you kidding? Like after they slept together, you were like, what the fuck? But then when they started dating, he was like, no, you were done. You sent him a letter. Like,
no. She's written this man quite a few letters.
Quite a few letters. I know. Yeah. It's very Hamilton. This ending of season 5.
Well, I mean, you should tell our listeners at home about that because you had a prediction and that prediction came true.
Oh, well, okay. So first of a few premonitions.
Well, we can talk about what your predictions are for
I'm saying that came true as we watched.
Yes. Tell us.
But
you love a prediction.
The first one I think was there's no chance that Rory is graduating from Yale.
That was your first prediction.
Yeah. I was like, no way. It just doesn't.
And what made you feel that way?
Just like from a show standpoint, I was like, it feels very Rory that the arc that she was kind of on, that it would make sense that at some point she's got to do that thing that like breaks her off of this track. Like every archetypal like smart girl who reads the books and goes to the good school, and oh no, she took off her glasses and now she's beautiful.
She doesn't wear glasses. She's got perfect vision.
Yeah, exactly. But like, there's always that moment that you have that's like the big, I'm doing this for me. And so there was something in the back of my mind.
The breakaway
that was like,
moment.
There's got to be some sort of like, Rory's gonna join the Peace Corps and go away for 2 years.
You thought it was going to be a positive change.
I did. Well, and who's to say it's not? Like, I have no idea.
Brett doesn't know what happens.
I don't know what's going to happen.
No. I'm based on your premonition of the Peace Corps or your example that's where she was headed. Do you think that's where she's headed?
I have no idea. I assume that when this goes down, I mean, like, she's so into this thing with Logan now. I assume that my thought was that she was going to leave school to just like go do news. She's
do
like,
news.
I'm gonna
do news.
I am a journalist and I'm bringing my notebook and I'm gonna go eat, pray, love.
Ooh, yeah. Eat, Pray, Love and journalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's like she's just going to break out on her own and just do her own thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of harder in what like 2004, 2005. She can't exactly like start like
a blog.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But there's something about Logan that wakes up this part of her that we kind of get glimpses of throughout the first couple of seasons, and like she has rebellious moments, but they're usually because of some boy. And this one feels a little bit more, I mean, obviously it's tied to Logan's influence, but it feels a little bit more profound for her. It feels a little bit more like, who am I? And is the track that I'm on like the track that I need to be on? Because we've gotten her completely from Lorelai's influence, and we've gotten her completely from the elder Gilman's influence, that push her towards Yale and push her towards this sort of upper crust society. And then when she runs into Logan, he really brings out that sort of like, be careful what you wish for, and who are you, kid, and like what's going on here. So I was not surprised that it happened, but I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah. And we'll get into what those predictions are.
Yeah.
But you were really vindicated when she sat down with Lorelai outside of Weston's and said, I'm not going back to Yale next year.
Yeah.
He stood up. Oh my God, we should insert the video here. He stood up.
Sent me a video of this.
Yeah.
I was actually wanting, my exact question is, what went through your mind, body, and soul when Rory dropped out of Yale and you realized you had been correct?
Well, it's almost that I felt like the thing about me is I love being right. Nothing feels quite as good. I don't
hair flip.
Yeah, like toss.
I knew.
Yeah, can't surprise me. I wrote this episode, like, and I feel excited because I was kind of honestly just getting bored with her.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that by the time, like right before she's leaving Yale, and by the time, like, I didn't really care about Logan. I didn't really care that she was like, oh, cool, new boyfriend. It was like, duh. And I wasn't really vibing with the fact that the show, like, her character is like, she exists to find Boy, and Boy does something bad, and then she reads a book about it. You know, like, it just kind of became this sort of, and then the boy she's with has conflict with another boy, and it leads her to do something crazy. You know,
something out of character.
Something out of character. Yeah. So there's
so many things I want to tell you about what happens later, but I'm not going to.
Thank you for holding back for me.
Oh my.
So this feels really nice as like, this choice is hers.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually something that we've talked about before. It like feels like one of like, in the same way going to Yale was one of the first choices she made that was not really influenced by Lorelai. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was like, she was factored into it. She was part of the pro-con list for sure, that it was so close to her. But this is another choice that she's like not making.
But do you think, okay, so
Lorelai,
how much of the elder Gilman's influence do you think has to do with her going to Yale?
I don't think much. I think that there was a part of her, and Haley, you can weigh in on this too. I think there was a part of her that was excited to like excite her grandparents when she decided, but I think she made the decision completely on her own. I mean, in fact, Lorelai is the one who pushes her towards it, because Rory is making those pro-con lists about Harvard, Princeton, and Yale, and Yale is the one that's winning out on paper. Right. And Lorelai's the one that goes, Yale. And she's like, what? She's like, Yale, it has like so many more pros and all of this stuff. And she decorates her room like with Yale stuff, you know, and replaces all the Harvard stuff. Yeah. And I think that Lorelai's the one to make that final push of like, it's okay if you accept this. Like, it's okay that Yale is the right choice for you.
Mind.
Yeah. And so I think that it was just like gravy to be able to look at her grandparents and be like, I'm going to Yale and excite them. But I don't think that their influence led her down this path. I don't think
so either.
Great.
Well, I have 2 points based on what you have said. And the first one that I want to start with is actually a character named Logan. Because as we were going through Patreon on Gilmore Revisited through both season 5 and season 6, at various moments, Tara was wondering how you would feel about Logan because Tara identified aspects of you in the character of Logan. How does that make you feel?
So funny. Because when I first met Logan, I think that the only thing I kept saying to her was, I was like, don't trust.
No, you kept saying that you didn't like how much he leaned in when he talked.
He was like, hey, Ace. It's like, it wasn't quite like the Dean, like when
please watch this on YouTube. Please witness this with me. Please witness this with me.
That one creepy shot of Dean comforting
in The Incredible
Lori.
Sinking Lorelai's when he's
he like scoops her.
He like scoops her, but also like just kind of is like, looks like he's like measuring her skull for a collection. It's really
That's exactly
weird.
what he was directed to do.
Yeah, it's like
man.
I feel like there's a Predator movie that happens where he like takes off the mask and it's Jared Padalecki.
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, it would
Take
be a
off the
fun
mask
twist.
and it's Jared.
Yeah, with Logan,
There have been scarier monsters.
Yeah, true that. It takes a while for me to like trust that trust his intentions, trust that he is grounded. My feelings about him aren't quite there because I honestly haven't, I've just done season 5. Like I haven't really spent enough time with him.
I think in season 6, I'll be curious to hear how you feel about him.
Yeah, but it's been a slow burn.
I will say, I do want to ask, what do you think Tara sees in Logan that she was identifying in you?
I don't know.
Is that a scary question? I can tell you,
is.
but I want to hear from you
Yeah,
first.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the way it just feels sort of like tell me. I guess I don't know. It feels weird. It feels weird to like talk about myself through another person.
Yeah,
you tell me.
It's because of how close you talk to her.
Yeah.
When you talk to her.
it's the lean.
No, she found him to be very charming, and she thought the same of you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I just find him to be very charming. I find him to be honest. I think he's very witty.
Yeah, I would say the honesty maybe.
Yeah,
my answer.
he's honest.
He's got a banter in him. He does that one.
He challenges her, and I think that there are ways that like throughout our relationship, and you continue to do this, but you've challenged me to kind of like think outside the box. And so, yeah, and there are just some things he does, especially in season 6, where I'm just like, oh man, that's so Brett Thiel.
Yeah.
She said that so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Oh, no.
No, it's not.
No, I don't.
But I know that there is a lot, there are a lot of people in the fandom who don't take to Logan. And I know that like you haven't completely gotten to see all of the sides of him yet that, make up his character. So I just wanted to ensure you that.
I think he's the most mature like boy that Rory has run into yet.
Also, he's the oldest, arguably, because they're in college.
Yeah.
And he's like a 21-year-old guy, as opposed to comparing him up against Dean and Jess, who were like 16, 17, 18 when they date Rory.
He falls into like the middle of a Venn diagram somewhere that like is the good things about Dean and the good things about Jess.
Sure. I buy that.
Where his education and his brain, I think, is like something about Jess that really excites Rory.
Yeah.
That she can relate to him on an intellectual level. And he is like a little bit of a rebel, but like dependable.
He's a dependable rebel.
So now you have a crush on Logan.
He's giving beige
you
flags.
into it.
Yeah.
Just like this entire
now that he
screen.
reflects you.
Yeah. Now that my life.
You're like, actually, that guy's pretty cool.
He kind of rules.
Yeah.
But I have said that a lot.
Yeah, I think he's cheesy.
Yeah, Brett thinks he's kind of cheesy. And I mean,
Do
a
you think
little
that's
cheese never
true
hurt
of
no
Brett?
one.
Is Brett cheesy?
He can be a little cheesy sometimes.
Your anniversary's on Valentine's Day, you guys. Nothing gets cheesier.
Yeah,
That's true.
that is true.
Well, another thing, speaking of people who love Logan, the Gilmores, or to quote Brett himself, the Gilmans, I do want to indeed talk about your relationship with them and the ups and downs that you have had with them.
It's complicated with the elder Gilmans.
How did the Gilmans come about, for anyone who doesn't know?
Like calling
myself.
them the Gilmans.
Yeah.
It's just a machination of my own brain.
Couldn't tell you when it started.
Yeah.
Don't know why it's happening.
Yeah.
Just
Wish it
along
would
for the ride.
No, I just fixate on things, and like mouth feel for words is important to me. So
Brett
like,
also loves a little nickname.
yeah, that's true.
Okay. Does
You
Tara
love a
have a
little-
little nickname? That's very Logan of you to give a little nickname.
Tara has a few nicknames.
I do.
Yeah.
Are we able
Meow.
to say them on? Oh,
When we
what? Can you? Is that one of them?
yes.
Can
Mao Mao. When we
Mao
became
Mao.
friends,
Yeah.
Mao, I don't remember why. I think it was a typo in a text one time.
Yes, it was.
I think we were saying wow and it autocorrected to Mao or something. And so we just started calling each other Mao. And that was when we were friends.
Yeah.
And now we just call each other Bubba.
Bubba. Yeah. I like Buzz.
so it's like a shared nickname.
Yeah.
Little
Bubba.
cutie
Yeah.
cutie nickname like Muffin or Honey Pot.
Exactly. Exactly. But instead, it's Bubba.
Yeah.
It's like as in Gump or Burger.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I name all of my all of my furniture has names. So like my
Oh, I did know this about you. You had to name the lamp.
yeah, I have a lamp that's shaped like a bird, and I called it Larry Bird. And I have a skinny lamp that's called Sherlock. And my television is called Dr. Romulus. And these are just names that I made up. And when my old roommate, my best friend, moved in to this apartment, he got a text from his sister and was like, "How's the first couple days of living with Brett?" And he said, "It's great." He introduced me to all the furniture. So like,
And now I'm terrified.
yeah, I just like fun nicknames.
Yeah. So I don't know how the Gilmans came about, but I was just like, oh, okay, I guess we're here.
We're going with it.
But your relationship with Emily and Richard has been really interesting. It's been it's been a roller coaster. And that was actually part of the reason why I wanted to take you through the early episodes of like seasons 1 and 2 when we were doing our little Gilmore Girls boot camp, was because I wanted to remind you of kind of the softer moments between the two of them and the history of like, you know, I think they really dig into that a lot in season 1, the history of Lorelai and her parents and why there's so much tension there, or at least like kind of the balance of, you know, yes, they can be really good scapegoats for the drama. And there are a lot of people in the fandom who blame Emily and Richard for a lot of the tension between them and their daughter. But there are also ways in which Lorelai has hurt her parents in ways that kind of exasperate and, you know, continue to define that tension. So I'm just curious, looking back at any of that, was there, did it change your perspective in any way? Because you said in season 5, you were like, when we did our kind of surprise first debut of you talking to some of our listeners, you know, a couple months ago, you said like, I just think
can listen to that on
Patreon if you're a vicious trollop. Yeah. But, you know, you said they're bad people.
Yeah, I still think I kind of hold that stance.
Okay.
Like they're people, they're humans.
Yeah.
And I still think that if I was to name an antagonist of the show, it would be those two.
100%. I think that that's the intention,
Yeah.
is that they're meant to be the antagonists. But what I love about Amy's work is that like the antagonist is still someone you root for. You know, there are people who love, especially Emily
like
Gilmore.
They pass the shit stick around in the show a little bit. Like everybody has a moment where it's like, no, you're kind of acting like an asshole.
Some people are holding it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Lady in the Tramp kind of situation.
See, I was imagining more like a real stick, and they were just holding it together.
Oh, yeah, that's nicer. Let's
like
go
a
with
relay
yours.
race together.
Yeah, let's go with yours.
Great.
Yeah, it's the old hurt people sort of trope. Like you can tell that they have they're so deeply set in their generation and in the way that they were raised, and what they think is a good life.
Yeah.
That it comes from a place of like, all we really want is for you to be comfortable. And they refuse to believe up to this point that like what Lorelai has is comfort.
Do you think that they're seeking out her comfort? That's what they want for her?
I want to believe that. I think that all parents at their core, and call that Disney of me, but like I think that there's something about everyone that has a child.
That's not very Disney of you. They kill off everyone's parents.
That's true, yeah. But everyone that has a child, there's something natural in you. There is just something about you. Not that I have any that I would know this, but my belief is that there's something in you that wants that thing to do well.
You have a step cat. I don't know
yeah,
what you're talking about.
yeah. You're right. I'm so sorry.
Would you say it's maybe a protectiveness, like whether or not like because I think for some reason, like Emily Gilmore wanting Lorelai to be comfortable, I'm like, that's a soft word for a hard gal. I wonder if protective is, she thinks that she knows what's going to protect her in her life.
I suppose that feels maybe like 6 of one, half dozen of another, right? Like
exactly. I think it's just the semantics of using a soft word to describe Emily.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
She's very opinionated, and she is very strong in her belief that she knows that her life is great to her. And so she's maybe like a copy paste kind of lady.
Like, this will work for you too.
Yeah, exactly. I have figured out a road that has worked for people of our status for thousands of years, right? Like in families of wealth and power, the way that it has been passed down is to protect it, and to insulate it. And I think that Lorelai not finding comfort in that insulation is sort of breaks the bank a little bit with them.
Yeah.
And it brings up insecurities about their own world. Like that's really the thing that's really important about this world for them, is that the illusion persists, that this is what is right and this is a good life. And because she has spent her entire life building what she has and who she is.
And if this is wrong, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
She won't.
Well, then where in that do you feel like they've made missteps or choices that define them for you as being bad people?
Well, I think it's their inability to see past their viewpoint. They have shown a lack of empathy towards Lorelai and Rory and Luke and Dean and
just keep listening to them. It's all of them.
Yeah. The list goes on and
yellow
on.
and
Yeah. The list goes on and on and on. That we've had. It's those things of when we get those human moments. They're rarely human moments where they're going, maybe I'm wrong. It's human moments being like, oh God, well, at least we have each other, Richard. It's kind of why when we got to their wedding, I was so upset for them sort of renewing their vows with each other, is I was like, they have this opportunity for Richard and Emily to give us new vows and to give us insight on like, hey, no matter what, even if the rest of the world burns down, I love you for this reason. And it's, we don't get that declaration. They sort of cut away from it right as it's about to happen. We get a little like look into it, like right before the wedding, right after the wedding, something like that. But it like the moment that I feel like they were going to become humans for me was kind of cut short.
Like getting their love story, getting like who they are to each other.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I've always felt like their relationship is centered on Lorelai. Like all of the problems. I mean, they have, of course, problems with each other, like retiring, etc. But the core of their issues, like their marriage, is through the lens of their daughter, and like kind of how that's affecting. It does change a little bit.
But I don't think
that
it's for lack of love from each other. Like, I think that they really do love each other.
Yeah.
100%. I will say, like, and I said this to you when we watched it, I disagreed with needing to see the vows, because I feel like we've gotten a lot of Emily and Richard's dedication to one another behind closed doors, that I was like, I don't know that we need to see that.
Do you feel like it would have been like a step too far, like a step out of Amy Sherman Palladino's wheelhouse? Because like when Emily is like, come home.
Yeah.
Like, she's basically already home, but it's just so small. Do you think that any like big declaration of like, I could watch the world burn down and I would still love you?
I mean, I would have loved it if Richard said that to Emily. Obviously, I would have loved it. But it does really zoom the perspective out, hearing you be like, wow, we didn't even get to see their vows. It's like, was Emily and Richard's vow renewal really even about them? For the story, I don't think it was. I think it was about Lorelai, Luke, and Chris, and it was about Rory and Logan. And so I think that just kind of further solidified that like their vow renewal, that episode, Wedding Bell Blues, arguably in my opinion is one of, if not the best episode of Gilmore Girls. And so I love it. And I love, when he says, for tonight and tonight only, my name is Bill. And that moment to me, so just good. Like, oh, it's so good. And for me is better than getting vows from them because it's just very them. But I guess I never really put too much thought into it until you mentioned that, like, we don't even really get to see their vows, that it's like, yeah, because that moment is cut away to Christopher coming into the ceremony because this episode is not really about the two of them renewing their vows. It is, but it's not.
This episode is also one that suffers from one trope that I do have a problem with,
which is what?
Which is like random episodes where characters are now just like doing something very
out of character
for the purpose of like we need this. We're kind of shoehorning in this plot point.
Yeah, we talked about this on the episode, and we've talked about it, in our analysis of Chris. It's like, when did you become the fucking villain?
Right.
And why? And it was to service the plot. And that's sometimes where on like our podcast, we kind of have to remove ourselves from things and put ourselves into less the narrative and more of the writer's room. It's just like, you guys did this to service the plot.
Yeah, I get that you had to get there.
Yeah.
I just, I regret that the thing that was left on the cutting room floor is that moment for me, because I think that like as someone who like Emily is maybe my favorite character after Patricia LaCosta.
Ooh.
And so like I wanted that moment so badly, and I've been like
wait. So the Gilmans are the bad people, but you love Emily.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't realize this.
Yeah. I mean, we love Macbeth, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And he's not necessarily the good guy of the tale.
Totally.
Titular character.
Indeed.
But not the good guy.
Indeed.
Much like Emily.
Much like Emily.
I'm really intrigued to see how you feel about them as we move through season 6, because of course, as you know, we're like getting this kind of, we ended season 5 with a little bit of a rift between the Gilmore girls. And that's very new territory for us to walk into season 6 with. Rory's living with her grandparents. That's going to be really fascinating to watch that dynamic unfold. So I'm really, curious to see how you feel.
Well, it's just with Emily being such a strong character, like there is so much damage there, and there's so much to tear apart, which is like a really fascinating thing for a character to have in a show. It's like there's a Kirk who's like could literally be anything because they've made him out to be like, well, of course Kirk is
he just feels like an ensemble member, like he just gets to play every role.
He's a character where anything could be true about him, but Emily is so specific, and you don't know a lot about her, and she protects it from you, and in so many ways the showrunners protect it, that you're just waiting for, like, she's the one that I'm just waiting for the glass to break on. And I want to see all of the marbles fall out, which like the show doesn't necessarily do a lot. We get drama, we get fights, but we have yet to see, and maybe it's just not the type of show that it is, but I'm dying to see Emily's,
wild side.
Yeah.
Because I will say there's a couple of things as you head into 6 and 7 mostly 6. 7 is just a fan fiction at the point, is I really want to know where you land with Logan and Rory and everything that transpires. Really
assuming
interested.
They both survive.
There's no explosions in season 6. Okay. Literal
spoiler
explosions. Alert. There's no fires. Knowing that you love Emily, very interested to see her arc. But a character that we have not mentioned, whose name I have not heard come up, is your thoughts on Mr. Luke Danes.
Mr. Luke Danes.
He owns the diner.
Oh, yeah. Luke Danes.
Yes. Yeah. Coffee.
I remember him. I love Luke. I love Luke's relationship with Jess. I love Luke's relationship with Lorelai, but I am scared for him.
Why? I also love his relationship with Jess is like,
yeah, like
honestly,
Scott Patterson is doing amazing work in this show. He's really bringing a sort of floor to it that is really nice. And
How are you feeling about Lorelai and Luke's relationship?
protective, that's the thing, right? Is that protective, but for Luke, because
protecting him against Lorelai.
Yeah,
You feel like Lorelai is going to mess it up.
I feel that she's, with the context that we've been given on the show, especially with where we left them, that like
she's gonna Max Medina him.
Like she's gonna Max Medina him. That it feels Luke is such a, he is the town, right? Like Luke is the character that is like, oh God, you're the one that's not all of this. And I feel very like protective of him.
Is there a reason why? Is it just like you're really drawn to him and who he is as a?
Yeah, I think that he's just somebody that I'm just like, just leave it alone. Leave him alone. He
read a book.
He loves her so much.
He's waited for this for so
long. And
that's what the town elder said. That's why he got the house.
Yeah, and there's something about his dedication and his patience, and the way that he shows up, that is so admirable. And the way that he is a parent to Jess and in, by proxy to Rory, that I think he would be that way regardless of sort of any emotional or, any sort of romantic attachment to Lorelai. And he, for me, is maybe like less impulsive. He's like the character that has like slowly, like we've watched him kind of like, oh my God, he's on the other side being like, I haven't been living my life. I want to live my life. Like he's a tea kettle that's been like waiting to burst,
to sing.
Yeah.
Do you think he's singing now, or is he's awaiting his moment?
I think that he started singing when he finally kisses her.
At the end of season 4.
At 4, or when they reconnect after the wedding?
In 4 at the doorstep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're both at doorsteps technically.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you mean at the doorstep of the inn?
Yeah.
The inn. Yeah. When he's
like I really love the storyline of him like listening to someone gives him
the self-help book.
The self-help book.
Yeah.
No one gives that to him. He seeks it out.
He seeks it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He gives it to Jess. Right.
Yes.
He gives it to Jess.
How did you feel about the proposal at the end of season 5?
Oh, right.
How did you feel about Lorelai proposing to him?
Well, we had to go back and watch it a second time because I was too busy gloating that I was right about Rory.
He was. I was like, can you just sit down? There's so much more that you have to watch.
And I was like, no. Let me finish my
It's very Luke. Can you just stand still?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I was instantly sort of like, ugh, because it feels like another moment where Lorelai is doing something out of like desperation, out of like, maybe like this thing will fix this for me.
Well, we talked about how a lot of proposals on the show are born from conflict. Max Medina, Suki and Jackson.
Yeah.
Now, Lorelai proposing to Luke. Even when Christopher says, "Will you marry me?" in the kitchen in season 1, it's
Question.
like.
Oh, sorry. I just completely cut you off. I'm so sorry.
Okay. What's your question?
Does she say, "Will you marry me?" in the same exact spot that Luke says, "Will you marry me?" in that first episode?
In that episode from season 1?
Yeah.
No, not in the same, but they're in the diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's behind the counter.
But it's interesting because when he's behind the counter and like jokingly says, "Will you marry me?" and she goes, "What?"
Yeah.
That's how.
I could say, "I got you to shut up." Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the exact jargon.
Yeah.
She says, "Will you marry me?" and he goes, "What?" And then
Yeah.
it, cuts to black. But when he saw it, he genuinely was like, "That's it? That's it? What?"
Yeah.
Imagine watching that and then having to wait all summer.
In real time.
Right, exactly. I love that.
Oh,
He loves
you
it.
love that?
I love that. That's
No.
part of what
I looked up spoilers.
That's part of what's good about it. Like that's the
No.
power. That's
I
the
need to
power of
know
television
now.
versus movies. Sometimes for me is that like cliffhangers on television hit so hard because
I've been hit so hard.
you know you have to wait. You have to sit there and you come up with theories, and this is how podcasts like this are born, as people sit around being like, what is going to happen with these guys?
It's true.
Yeah. Which is funny because we know every single thing that happens to these guys.
Yeah, but still, like, I don't want to put that in your brain for you, but like, do you not find that like when you were watching it for the first time, did you watch it as it was airing or did you watch it on DVD?
I watched it on ABC Family reruns. That's how I fell in love with the show. Haley watched it in real time. She started at season 5, which is why she's a Logan girl, is because she was introduced to the show when Logan was, you know, the love interest, and of course fell in love.
Because like watching season 6 and watching season 7 live was like some of the most agonizing years of my life.
Yeah.
Like I'm not made for that.
Yeah, but that's the thing that makes it stick, I think.
Probably. Or it was the hundreds of times I watched it on my DVD player.
For sure. But
I totally understand, like totally get that. Because like I think there's so many shows that have like such visceral memories. So like there's this one episode when you get to it in season 7.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I just sat in my seat for like an hour, just like contemplating my life, thinking like I have a whole week to get through that. And I thought of nothing else. Yeah. And so like there is like a magical sort of like feeling that like you just won't have anymore unless you're watching like Love Island.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it right now with shows like Severance on Apple TV Plus. Like Severance is a show that we really love. We haven't started the second season yet, but they're only doling it out one episode at a time. And admittedly, I kind of want to wait because I know I'm going to want to watch it. As soon as I see episode 1, I'm going to want episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are making you do those things. We're kind of moving back in that direction in a sense.
Did Maisel do that? Because you watched Maisel, right, Brett?
I've seen some of Maisel.
He only saw the first.
Started
we started like, we got maybe 7 episodes in. He loved it.
Okay.
And I was like, we have to finish watching Gilmore Girls first before we can take this dive.
Yeah.
But
you and I will finish Maisel first.
Yeah.
I've only seen season 1.
Yeah. She's only seen season 1. So we're going to go on that journey at some point.
It's a good one.
You were excellent with the prediction, as it turns out, whether it's like the story pattern or just like what you anticipate from them. What do you see happening for 6, 7, and then the revival?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh my. Buckle up, everyone.
I actually don't know what these answers are.
Really? Oh, wow.
So.
Well, I know one of these answers.
Okay, so that was a lie.
For the remainder of the show, I'm picturing... there's just no part of me that thinks that Lorelai and Luke are getting married now.
What do you mean now?
There's a little bit of trouble that I have knowing how long the show is. That makes some predictions like, okay, like we still have 40 episodes to get through.
Yeah.
And this is a certain type of show where like archetype, the cliche would be that like something is going to go wrong, probably with Christopher because he loves to show up and ruin things. And Lorelai is going to be like, oh my God, maybe it was you. I haven't decided whether or not the end of the show for me is Lorelai going, it's always been you. You were there. It's always been you. We're together now.
To Chris.
Hooray. To Chris. Yes. The like happy family ending makes a lot of sense to me.
Like they're a trio.
They're a
Rory,
trio.
Chris,
Yeah.
and Lorelai.
Yeah.
And Luke's just
Gilmore, period.
his last name's Hayden, but yeah.
Hayden girls.
Ugh.
Hayden Honeys.
Hayden
Yeah.
Honeys.
Hayden Honeys.
Yeah. Honeys.
That's the name of our football team. Yeah. So like that, like in terms of Lorelai and Luke, that's where my head is at. I think that.
Okay, what would Luke do in this situation? Just fuck off?
Not fuck off. I think that there's room in there for like, hey, you're my best friend, and you don't always marry your best friend, but you need them to be there. And I think that there's like maybe some time where it's like Luke does fuck off, but perhaps comes back and it's like, hey, I'm ready to
fucks back.
And fucks right back, you know. I think he's too important to Rory. I don't know. Like that.
Well, he's super important to the town, and I think
super
that's
you said he was the town.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, he gets
kind of
elected.
Like, you think it becomes a Starbucks? He just leaves?
Yeah. No, I don't think he leaves. No, I don't see Luke leaving. Do you see Luke leaving?
Did you just have a premonition? Almost like a prophecy?
Well, it's like now that I said it, yeah. Now that I've said it out loud, it does make sense that Luke would fuck off, because he's the other one besides Rory that is kind of, you know, coming into, oh, who am I? Do I belong here? Is this where I belong? Like, maybe he goes, I don't know. Maybe there is a Luke journey. I'm going to have to part 2.
Yeah.
Save for part 2. Yeah.
Admittedly, I just want to play back your thoughts to you after you were in the know, after you've seen it, and see. Yeah. I want a reaction video to your predictions.
That certainly sparked inspiration inside of me. The thought of Luke. I almost want that now. I almost love the idea of Luke and Lorelai, like,
whatever happens, as long as
her
Luke
marrying
leaves.
Chris, and then like Luke is like somewhere else fishing.
Gone fishing.
Yeah.
Gone fishing.
Yeah, like maybe he's in LA with Jess. I don't know.
Oh, he moves to California.
Yeah.
All the way.
I don't know. Like maybe they're somewhere together and it's great. And like that relationship closing up together feels really nice. I would really like that.
For Jess and Luke to have, you know.
I would like Luke to get out
of Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good sitcom. Jess and Luke in California. They have a duplex.
I think that Rory ends up with Logan.
With Logan? Like how strongly do you feel that? 1 to 100 percentage wise?
Like 75 to 80%.
Okay, that's pretty high.
Can I ask you a question, an honest question?
Yes.
Would you feel that way if you hadn't seen the cover for A Year in the Life and the two of them on it?
Yes.
Okay. Brett saw the cover for A Year in the Life on Netflix, and it was, you know, it's that shot of the two of them.
It does alternate, but it is the one where she's sitting on his lap.
Yeah. And so he was like, well, I know they end up together. And I was like, how do you know that? And he was like, because I saw the Netflix cover. And I said, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if
he's there. He didn't die.
Right.
Unless he's a ghost.
Obviously, he's around.
Okay. Yeah.
In some way. I don't know if it's like...
Sure.
I don't know if it's like a Christopher Part 2.
Okay.
Situation. I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
But it makes the
What
most
would be a
sense.
Christopher Part 2? Just that like he like lingers around.
That like, yeah, I don't know if it's like...
He just comes to like fuck things up in their life.
No, Rory's pregnant. Oh, God. But I don't think that that's true. I don't think that would happen. But it's the only reason. It's not the only reason, but it would make sense. If they're not together, that's the only reason that makes sense why
he'd like linger about.
Still there. Yeah.
Right.
What about the Gilmans in season 6? What do you see for them?
Or
season 6
the
and
elder
7?
Gilmans?
Yes.
Okay, one of them's got to die. Right? Car crash?
What? No.
What kind of show is this?
I don't know.
No. You think that one of them is going... They're not that old. You think one of them's going to pass away in these next couple seasons?
Well, because
Ed Herman
dies.
in real life, yes.
Yeah.
Is it during the show? Well, don't tell me.
I don't want to tell you. I'm not going to tell you shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would make sense.
For one of them to pass before the show, like the original series, is over.
Yeah.
Okay.
That feels very family drama.
Okay.
Someone's
is it?
got to die. Someone on the show's got to die.
Why has anyone got to die? It's not that kind of show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This isn't Lost.
I guess not. Maybe
They're
that's
actually all on an island.
Yeah.
They're actually all dead.
Maybe they fuck off to an island somewhere.
A lot of people
Everybody's
fucking
on
off.
No one's
Can you
left
specify
in
the island?
No one's left in Stars Hollow at the end. It's just Taylor selling wicker baskets.
Or maybe they've been kept there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a project.
Maybe they were never there to begin with. Because I know that
Ed Herman passes.
Ed Herman dies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I assume that he dies on the show. That's one of them dies on the show.
Well, eventually, yes, Richard can't be there
Right.
at some point.
I think that it would be it would be devastating. It'd be terrible. It would be a great reason for Rory to come back.
You think that that's why she goes back where actually?
Like
What did you mean?
if on the journey that we're taking, where Rory is leaving Yale, and in my mind that she's going somewhere, that she's like, I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta go. I gotta go join the Peace Corps, or
I'm gonna go my own way.
yeah, I'm gonna go my own way. I'm gonna go visit Lane, who we've hopefully given some sort of story to by season 6. That doesn't.
What do you think about Zach?
I think Zach is fine. I just think that that whole arc is such a, and also Lane still has to exist in the show, so here's some stuff that happens to her along the way.
Yeah, you're not a big Lane fan.
I'm not, but I think that it's hard with her because she kind of turns into a non-character. Once Rory goes to college, it's
sad to watch.
It's sad, it's hard, and I get it, and I like Lane. Her story is interesting, but it is kind of really the things that are happening on the show are everybody over here. And
you want her to have some heft to her storyline, but they just never give it to her.
And because it's not the kind of show where people get into a bus explosion, then she has to exist in some frame. So it's and also her band, maybe her band is.
Wait, you wanted Lane to get into a bus explosion?
No, I didn't want that. I just think that there's no way it would have been interesting.
She couldn't have just gone to college.
She fucks off to an island.
It has to be a bus explosion.
Yeah. I don't know. This is why I don't write shows. But I hope that Lane's
tonally
band,
it feels off.
I hope that Lane's band does something.
Yeah. Well, when
They
we leave
do.
them in season 5, they're going on a tour. Remember,
Yeah.
Mrs. Kim kind of arranges this tour for
Yes,
them.
but I hope that something good happens.
Yeah, totally. I hear that.
Maybe she's good at
It's a really good hope to have.
Yeah.
What is your prediction about really where we left things at the end of season 5 between Lorelai and Rory? There's a rift. Rory is living with her grandparents. What do you think is going to happen there?
I don't know.
Fair answer. Good answer.
I don't.
That's actually the right answer.
Yeah, I do not know. I think that Emily is going to absolutely live for it and hold it over Lorelai's head, which will cause a further rift.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could just be a breeding ground that pushes Rory further into oh, everybody's crazy. I gotta get out of here.
So you're really set that Rory's leaving.
She's out.
Packing
here.
her bags
She's
and
out
leaving.
here. Yeah.
Does she come back?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Does she go back to school?
I don't think so.
No more school.
No more school.
No more Yale.
She's done. Yeah.
No more books. No more teachers' dirty lips.
The books will be there, but I think school's out.
Yeah.
School's out
Yeah.
forever.
And frankly, I don't think she needs it. What's she getting there except for an internship that may or may not turn into the thing that turns into her job? I don't know.
Okay.
That's interesting to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are all such interesting predictions.
I know. I'm very excited to play them back for you.
Yeah.
No, I wanna end this conversation with something that is not Gilmore related, but is Gilmore To Say related. And that is that when we are recording this, the Grammys were last night, and Brett and I sat down and watched it. Haley and I, chatted about it today. And a conversation that Brett and I have been having recently is about Taylor Swift's discography. And he asked me on the couch before we started recording, what's your favorite era? And I was like, of time? And he was like,
the
No.
Paleolithic?
Mesozoic. Really thought there was some good stuff
Love a
happening.
dinosaur.
Mhm.
and he was like, no, Taylor Swift era. And I said, I was torn between 1989 and Folklore, but if it was about what album he was going to listen to next, because the first album he listened to in preparation for the Grammys was the Tortured Poets
Tortured
department,
Poets department.
top to tail. He's heard Taylor Swift songs, but has never listened to an album in its entirety.
But just the core, not the anthology.
Not the anthology, just what was nominated for the Grammy.
And he really liked everything from Guilty as Sin on.
That
I forgot
song
to tell
about
you about
Florida
Guilty as
is
Sin.
absolute trash.
You hate that
That
song.
song about Florida is so sad.
You have to let go. You have to let go and let Florida.
That song about Florida really was the point. I've been listening to it while I was running, and that song came on, and I was like, huh. And then there's this.
If you go to Florida and you don't say Florida, did you really go to Florida?
Did you really go to Florida?
It also was jarring because growing up, I went to Destin. Like that was like where
I actually used to go to Destin as well.
Yeah, like every year, twice a year during the summer. And so when she name dropped Destin, Florida, I was like,
You were like,
what?
Destin?
is this album made for me?
Has she ever been there? Did she just pick something that rhymed?
She just threw a dart at a map.
She was like,
she
that
like
one.
was like thesaurus, like rhymezone.com.
Boca Raton. It's just like, sure, why not? Yeah.
But I said, you know, as he's kind of trying to take this dive down, you know, the different eras, he asked me what my favorite was. I said Folklore. And I would really love for him to listen to that album.
Yeah.
But he wanted to ask you what your favorite era is.
Yeah, I want to know.
I am a Midnight's girly because Midnight's, in my opinion, is Folklore meets Reputation. And so those are my two eras. So I'm like a Midnight Sun, Folklore Moon,
I love
Reputation Rising.
Okay, I will do my research and report back in part 2.
Yeah, because we'd love to have you back.
Did you have a fave song from Tortured Poet?
I'm gonna mess up the names of the songs.
That's cool. I can correct you.
But Smallest Man Alive? Is that what it's
Whoever
called?
lived.
Smallest
But it's right.
Smallest man
That's
who ever lived.
He's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. He's alive and well. I really like that song.
The bridge of that one.
The back half. The back half of the album got me a lot more than the first half.
Yeah, I agree. The first half grows on you because I like with Midnights it was like immediate for me.
Yeah,
but with Tortured Poets, once I got to the end of it, I was like, well, let's restart.
Yeah, take me back all the way.
Yeah.
Something that cracks me up is that when we were in LA, was it LA? Haley kept singing the bridge of The Smallest Man Who Ever
around
Lived.
the hotel room going, were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? And she was like, no.
Something about like a gun underneath her bed. I was like,
Did
what
you
are
sleep
you,
with
man?
the gun underneath our bed? And
Yeah,
she was
I was like,
what?
I was like,
Were
what
you
are you
writing
singing?
a
She
book?
kept singing it. And I was like, what are you singing?
Supercell spy. When ultimately, I'm sure she will release the Tortured Poets version of the Eras Tour on Disney Plus. She has to. The performance of that is...
I would really love to watch it. I would love to watch the Eras Tour.
Together.
Yeah, we could watch it together.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Hard Taylor Swift launch.
I love.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I'm so grateful to be included in your conversations and with you guys, and happy anniversary to
all of us.
To all of us.
All of us.
I am so feels I'm so proud of you guys.
Thanks
for building this thing.
Thanks, Brett.
Because it's such a wonderful thing, and you've built such a beautiful community, and like it's so hard to do what you do. So congratulations on building something from the ground up that people care about and come back to. So I just think that you guys need deserve your flowers, whether or not it's 10,000 yellow ones.
1,000 yellow ones.
Brett, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. And this was so much fun.
Thanks. Thank you so much for
thanks
being
for joining
on here.
us.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I love that you have gone on this journey with me over the last 3 years watching this show and embracing this thing I love.
Yeah. This feels like a monumental month for us here on Gilmore To Say, because not only is it Brett's first episode, but we are also reaching the end of season 6. Mm-hmm. And that is both for the show itself is a big deal. Mm-hmm. For our show, it's a big deal. And for me personally, it's a scary thing. But because it is such a big episode, we decided that the partings recap had to be aired live. I guess it's not live. That's not how this podcast works.
No, we're going to be recording it live, and we would have done so last night when this episode airs. And it'll be available for our super cool party people on Friday. And then it will be available for everybody to listen to on Tuesday next week. Partings. It's Haley's favorite episode. Or is it? We're going to break it down.
Scared.
We're really excited.
Oh my
She's
God.
a little scared.
You'll find out if I actually truly believe that, as I have all these years.
And we'll have more to say on that in the next episode.